It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Well, could be an interesting day. We've been talking about the possibility of a UAW strike. We'll get to more of that coming up here in just a little bit. The impeachment inquiry coming up this hour. We'll hear from Kevin McCarthy and what he had to say yesterday. You know, we had played earlier some audio cuts from Karine Jean-Pierre and Mr. Kirby.
Yeah.
John Kirby and, from the White House public relations staff.
Yeah.
Their press secretaries, and man, it was just really bad. I mean, it was as bad as you can get. This was worse. I'm just going to play you the audio of this, and I wish everybody could see the video. But it's the president with the cabinet right there, and he's opens up for questions. Every single question, everybody just starts screaming. Everything is about impeachment and the impeachment inquiry, and he's just staring back, looking at them. And this goes on. It doesn't go on for just 5 seconds. Here it is.
Mr. President, response to impeachment. Response to impeachment.
Okay, I'm having some problems with that audio, but this is like a 50-second audio cut that he's just sitting there and, open up for questions. You heard the first question. He's just staring. Then everybody else is throwing in their questions, and it just keeps going on and on and on. And he's just staring there looking at them. I've never seen that. In modern American politics, I have never seen anything like that where you open it up for questions and everybody's screaming and you just stare back at them. It's creepy.
He looked like he didn't even know where he was.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked like he was out of it. Whose idea was it to bring the media in the room and open it up?
I don't know. I don't know why they do that.
On the same day that they sent out the marching orders to the media, hey, you need to scrutinize the Republicans in this whole impeachment inquiry thing.
I hope they do.
Oh, yeah.
I want the media to scrutinize the Republicans. Yep. As I said, coming up a little bit later on, we'll this hour, in fact, following the bottom of the hour, we'll play the Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy going before the press just to take questions. Nobody had questions on the substance of the probable cause that the Republicans say is driving them to the impeachment inquiry. Everything. Every question was on simply, well, how come you're not having a vote, congressional vote? Well, Nancy Pelosi changed the rules. Yeah, but you were for it, and you should still do it. Well, you didn't complain last time. You're complaining now, and that's not a constitutional rule or a constitutional law. Constitution doesn't dictate how a impeachment inquiry goes. It dictates how an impeachment goes and how a Senate trial goes. But an impeachment, it simply says you vote on the articles of impeachment. How you get to the articles of impeachment can be through an impeachment inquiry or just a member of Congress filing an article of impeachment and the Congress voting on it. And if it gets a majority vote, boom. But they don't want to help him. Well, let's put it this way. They don't want to help him more than they've already helped him because they don't know where to go.
Well, their only play was to ignore it for all this time, to create a vacuum of nothingness. And now they can't do that. I mean, you just heard it. That was not a group of reporters standing down or throwing shade on Republicans. everyone in that room had a list of questions. Seriously, whose idea was it to bring them in the room and just open up questions?
I don't know. But it got to the point of being creepy.
No, it was weird.
I mean, it just was.
It just went on for so long. And he has no ability to control the room. In a situation like that, listen. Just want to let everybody know what we're working on today, blah, 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 and you go down the list. We don't have time for questions because we need to get to work. Thank you for being here. And then you let him out of the room. He's not capable of doing that.
And Karine Jean-Pierre decided to stop answering questions yesterday, which caused a very uncomfortable moment at the end of the press hearing yesterday.
All right.
Here we go.
And with that, folks.
Explain why the president interacted with so many of his son's foreign business associates. More than half of voters told CNN they believe the president was involved and he lied. You can't have a response to that, Karine?
That was, wow.
I was waiting for her to take off running, to actually get into a running stride.
And then this one just on, this was to John Kirby, and this was just, and the interesting thing is, reporters are now using the word lie.
Yeah.
You know how rare that is? But here was the question to John Kirby.
John, in the past couple of weeks, the president has lied about being at Ground Zero the day after the September 11th attacks, falsely claimed he saw the Pittsburgh Bridge collapse, claimed his grandfather died in the hospital days before his birth. What is going on with the president? Is he just believing things that didn't happen did happen, or is he just randomly making stuff up?
The president was deeply touched and honored to be able to spend 9/11 with military members there in Alaska and some families, and was honored by their presence and the chance to make an important set of remarks about why we need to continue to remember that day, and he did that, and he spoke about a visit to Ground Zero, which he did participate in about a week or so after the event. And what that looked and what that smelled and what that felt like.
As you can tell, he won't answer the question. And the first thing out of his mouth was not, how dare you call the president a liar?
Which it should have been from day one. Yeah. We've been saying they should have stopped all this. You know, you pound on the podium and say, enough. We're not going to go down the road. The Republicans will not lead us down that road because the president has done nothing wrong. And we're not going to follow this game. We're not going to play it. If you have a question about what the president is doing, his work, his agenda, then we can take those questions. But we're not taking any more questions on that because we will not entertain them for one more second.
It's tough to do that.
You can't.
It's tough.
Now
tough, yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, it's
at the beginning you could throw shade on the reporters and try and get them in a group to intimidate them. That's all you're trying to do. But what did they do? Every time they were like, well, as we have been saying, as she flips through a book. Or as Kirby just kind of looks absolutely clueless. There's no way out of it now. You paint yourself into a tight corner, it's going to stay tight. And that's where they are. They're the ones that did this because they can't handle this. The fact of the matter is, way too many people inside the Beltway have known about this behavior by Joe Biden for years. It goes back to when he was actually engaging in all of this. This is not new. This is not new to them. What they didn't know is what the Republicans in the House were going to present. So they just waited to address it as it was being presented. And now you're at the point of impeachment inquiry, and The Republicans have the House until at least January of 2025. Now, it's likely they won't take that long with the inquiry, but there is no clock on it. There's no rule that says they've got to get it done in a certain amount of time. They can present witnesses. They can present the testimony from witnesses and other evidence in a way that people inside the Beltway, Democrats and liberal media know will destroy this president. And none of them want him. The majority of the rank and file, his own party, doesn't want him to run. Just ask David Ignatius, who wrote that just yesterday in the Washington Post.
And don't forget, because you think of the Washington Post and then you think of MSNBC, which is, you know, the liberal network, and Joe Scarborough saying that every single Democrat, every single one he has talked to, off the record, but not on camera, says they don't want him to run.
Right.
And it's not because of his age.
No, it is.
It's
It's not a coincidence.
I think it's part of it may be the cognitive problems that he has.
I think that is a problem for them,
But the lies have always been there. The lies have never changed.
Right.
It's not like he just started lying because he has cognitive problems.
Well, remember the first several weeks of his presidency, it was a liberal media, I forget if it was the Washington Post or the New York Times, that wrote the article, The Bizarre Set of Lies That Joe Biden Has Been Telling for Years.
For years, decades. And so that, so that's not, it's the lies look horrible, because they continue day after day, year after year, and they're just bizarre. Yeah. I mean, they're bizarre where they hit popular culture, but I think the real reason is they're scared to death right now. They're absolutely scared to death of this impeachment inquiry. When you had Ian Sams, who was the spokesperson for the White House counsel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is the White House lawyers.
Yeah.
Because Ian Sams sending it means it came from the White House counsel advising the media that they need to go after the Republican narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God, I've never seen that. Maybe it's happened before and it didn't make news. I think I would have remembered it in my talk radio career. But when I saw that, I actually started laughing. I went, because it was just so bizarre, and I went, they're scared. They don't know. And we brought up what their defense is. The defense has been, there's nothing there. Jared Kushner. And love is love.
Yeah.
I mean,
right. He did it because he loves his son.
Well, there's nothing there. Actually, there's nothing there. There's actually four of them. There's nothing there. Love is love. And the love is basically, well, Hunter Biden was influence peddling, but it was the illusion, and the entire family was benefiting from the illusion that Joe Biden was taking bribes.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're saying, that because influence peddling,
they were taking advantage of him.
That Joe Biden was basically basing U.S. policy on his family getting rich, and the goalposts have been moved so far to say, well, no, the whole family was in on using Joe to pretend that Joe was changing U.S. policy for money. We were just fooling all of these bad, corrupt actors from around the world and taking tens of millions from them and not delivering what they wanted. Mm-hmm. And Joe had no idea that this was going on.
Yeah. Poor old Joe.
Those really aren't great defenses.
No,
those aren't they're not. A great starting point of a defense, as we've said all along. And the White House knows it, and they're panicking. And that's why you saw the response to McCarthy, as we'll play yesterday, was not McCarthy laying out the probable cause here. Nobody questioned that or said it wasn't accurate. It was simply, well, how come the entire House isn't going to vote on this? Well, because Nancy Pelosi changed that rule.
Right. Sorry.
And that's the only thing that they were obsessed with. Yep. Well, yeah, but many Republicans and you were against it during the impeachment, and now you're for it?
The rules have changed.
Rules have changed. And they can't, and that they have nowhere to go. And that's what I saw yesterday, the weakness, because that came from the lawyers.
Yeah. No, yesterday was all hands on deck.
Yeah, that came from the lawyers, and the lawyers are saying, we can't defend it. We can't defend this president.
Right.
Media, where are you?
Right.
You're
help us. By the way, when they have been shutting them out since the beginning, and we've been saying this, The White House press corps, the liberal media within the White House press corps, they show up, especially with the liberal administration, wanting their talking point. Just give us the spin that we can take out and broadcast or put in print, and we're done here. And they wouldn't do that. The defiant Joe Biden
Well, they couldn't.
wouldn't do it. Well, on anything. They really weren't doing anything. They think about where Karine Jean-Pierre has been. She's basically been debating and defending. Well, then all of a sudden they're asking for help. Well, what you just heard minutes ago was the media doing anything but helping.
Yeah. That was their lifeline.
Yeah.
That's what they were doing.
Exactly.
They're throwing that out, saying, you got to do something. We don't have anything, because we've laid it out.
Right.
We've laid out, and the Republicans laid out what the probable cause is.
Yep.
All right, what's the defense from the Democrats? And the defense from the Democrats is, there's nothing here. Well, nobody buys that.
No.
Nobody buys that,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Love is love, and
Jared Kushner.
Jared Kushner. Love is love, and then the love is in the inclusive of, because Ian Sims actually used that yesterday. He's actually said that yesterday. They moved the goalpost and said nothing's going on, but they moved the goalpost, and the public knows it. And the other one they've used is that the American public doesn't care.
Right.
Well, they do care about it, and they know about
The
it.
whole show it.
And so every single point they brought up to try to defend the president goes nowhere.
Yep.
And now the White House counsel is panicking, and that's why they put out that letter. Media, you got to help us somehow.
That's what you saw yesterday.
866-90 Red Eye.
It has been a year since USDA announced the project supported through its Partnership for Climate Smart Commodities Investments.
We were pleased that the 141 projects, basically all 50 states, all major commodities, specialty crops, the whole 9 yards, organic, conventional ways of production. Exciting to see the diversity of American agriculture participate in this, crop production as well as livestock and all species.
Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack in Wisconsin Wednesday, recognizing the anniversary and highlighting some of the first-year successes associated with the program.
Around 90% of the contracts have entered into a specific signed agreement or in the process of executing the agreement, and we've now begun the exciting opportunity of reaching out to farmers, encouraging them to participate.
With the Secretary adding resources now available to encourage farmers to participate in climate-smart practices while developing markets that would pay a premium for a climate-smart commodity. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
He's Eric Curley, and I'm Gary McNamara. By the way, just when we say love is love, in case you've never heard about it, that defense that they're using, it's something that Eric and I came up with, that, the whole thing that, Joe does all this stuff because he loves his son. And we eventually said, well, they're going to get to the point of saying, well, he was actually involved in all the bribery stuff and everything because love is love. And so if bribery is because love, then bribery is okay.
He puts family above everything, including the law.
They're moving in that direction. Here's Ian Sands on CNN, the White House counsel spokesperson.
The president was present at some of the meetings between Hunter Biden and his business associates. Why was the president at those meetings on those phone calls?
Well, again, I think this is part of the right wing's misinformation machine to try to confuse people about what the truth is. The truth is that the president, as he has said publicly for years, calls his family every day to check in. He calls his son every day to check in. He calls his other family members to check in to see how they're doing. He loves them. They're a tight-knit family.
Love is love.
He doesn't deny that the goalposts have changed, and now they're admitting he was in on the business meetings.
Love is love.
Love is love. It's all because of love.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you want if you can't listen live overnight. So the Ian Sams was just wonderful because he's saying basically that's the disinformation because he was being asked by CNN, being asked, well, what about all these meetings that the president had, with his son there? And he didn't deny that the meetings were had. He simply said that this is some of the disinformation that the right-wing media is throwing out there. And it's like, well, what's the disinformation? And he doesn't deny that those meetings took place. In fact, what he said after that was, this is some of the disinformation from the right-wing media. The president calls his son every day. He calls many family members every day. So, in essence, he's admitting, he's not denying it, he's admitting,
he confirmed.
He confirmed it and then said the reason is because he loves him, which is the whole love is love.
Right.
So he's talking to Hunter's business partners because he loves his son, which actually, well, then you love your son and you're willing to enrich your son by what? Taking bribes? That would be the question that I would ask.
Right.
Or is the entire family using the president of the United States? When he was vice president and after he was vice president, were they using him? Because the other thing is, what they're saying is Hunter was selling the illusion of influence peddling. So Hunter was bad. And Jonathan Turley has brought this up. Mm-hmm. We've taken it a step further. Well, if Hunter was bad and selling the illusion, well, the whole family knew about it.
Yeah.
And was all for screwing over Joe Biden.
Yep.
So they could enrich themselves with millions because Joe Biden had no idea any of this was going on. Do they actually understand? It's almost as if they are so tunnel vision that they don't see the entire picture of what they're actually communicating, even inside the White House. And that comes from he's a spokesperson for the White House's counsel, the counsel's office, the White House lawyers. And he's acknowledging, he's not denying that the meetings didn't take place. He's saying, yeah, they took place, but there's disinformation for the Republicans.
And doesn't say what that disinformation is.
Except for the fact that the disinformation is the Republicans aren't saying that the president did it because he loves his son. It's just absolutely bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. I do want to play this before we get to the audio cut from Kevin McCarthy. This is Jackie Heinrich yesterday with John Kirby. And this is about, I know it's off the topic a little bit, but no, everything's really on topic with what the administration's doing. This is on the whole deal with the Iranians. Okay? All right, here we go.
But didn't they also get 5 Iranians?
They will get 5 Iranians as well, yeah, Jackie.
Then why did we need to add $6 billion on top of that?
This is the deal that we were able to strike.
No, did anybody ask the question? I didn't see this because we asked this question yesterday. Now that the Iranian president has come out and said, no, because they made sure they were saying that, look, this deal is contingent upon that the Iranians only use it for humanitarian purposes. Mm-hmm. That they must use it for these purposes. It must be our standard of humanitarianism. And the Iranian president comes out and says, we'll use it for whatever we want. We decide what we use it for. How come that didn't destroy the deal?
Right.
That's such a cluster. It is really,
well,
really
because
bad.
if they were really concerned about it, you should have heard Anthony Blinken responding to the interview with the Iranian leaders saying, well, we're not turning anything over unless we can be assured, unless we can control how that money is spent.
They can't do that.
They
can't even do that. They have to leave it out there that they're willing to enable Iranian worldwide terrorism, even against Americans.
And just hope that it dies in the bubble of yesterday.
Yep. Let's go to Kevin McCarthy yesterday. He went up just to take questions, and this is what we said the Republicans have to do, was explain what the impeachment inquiry is about, and he did it without any teleprompter or any notes. Here we go. Okay.
Good morning. Just very quickly, how do you justify this impeachment inquiry without holding a full House vote?
Oh, easily, because Nancy Pelosi changed the rules of the president. But let's walk through why. And let's walk through what an impeachment inquiry is, okay? An impeachment inquiry is simply empowering the House to a greater level to get the documents they need to answer a question. So what it is how do you answer a question? Now, first of all, what is the question? Well, let's walk through what we know today and why it transferred just in the last little bit. We do know that an FBI informant has alleged to the FBI a number of years ago that the vice president, that there was a bribe and that you wouldn't find the money because of shell companies. We do know now the Biden family created 20 shell companies. We do know now that $20 million went to them. We do know now what President Biden told the American public was not true, that he never talked to his son about his business dealings. We do know now, based upon the testimony by Hunter Biden's business partner, that they were selling a brand, that the vice president would get on phone calls, that Hunter Biden went on 12 trips, international trips, with then vice president. We do know that he went to meetings, and when he went to these dinners, the son got a new Porsche. He got more than $3 million moved and transferred. We do know now that when the shell companies got paid, 9 members of the family got paid. We do know now that the government, while it was investigating Hunter Biden, was treated differently, the Biden family, that they let the statute of limitations run out. And we do know from IRS workers who came forth that's not how the IRS works. So you have all these questions, and to be able to get the answers to those questions, you're going to have to subpoena certain documents. All that impeachment inquiry does is provide Congress the opportunity that if someone fights Biden, we also learned...
But what about this DOJ?
Let me finish the answer. The other thing we learned just in the last couple of weeks, that Vice President used a pseudonym for emails, that 5,400 of those are in the archives, that President Obama gets to determine whether the House is able to look at those. We do know from seeing one of the emails that the staffer sends an email to Vice President Biden and to Hunter Biden and referring to his upcoming conversation with the president of Ukraine. At this time, Hunter Biden is on the board of Burisma, a Ukrainian energy company that Hunter Biden was selling the brand to while he was put on, who Hunter Biden acknowledged he had no experience in energy and why he was only put on there because he was Joe Biden's son. We do know President Biden, in his own words, told the American public that he withheld $1 billion of taxpayer money to Ukraine until they fired the prosecutor. And Hunter Biden's business partner then has now informed us in the last weeks that there was a lot of pressure on them to do something about the prosecutor. We have also learned that a White House staffer to the vice president sent to Hunter Biden's business partner that the vice president has okayed the talking points for Burisma. So all of these are questions. So I ask you as reporters, as gatherers of information, wouldn't you want to know the answers to these questions?
But what about this DOJ opinion in 2020 that basically said an inquiry is invalid unless you have the House authorized?
You also have a court case that going forward with Nadler, when he went forward when they did not have a vote, when they wanted documents, and the judge said, why do you need these documents? He said, we've got an impeachment inquiry. He said, okay, you can have it. So you've got a court case there.
But you told Breitbart.
But are you worried this is going to be challenged?
You know what's interesting to me? You were a reporter for CNN, correct?
Yes.
I just laid out to you a lot of allegations based upon the American
I'm just asking about your words. Why did you change your words?
Okay, well, let me answer your question, because I've answered it every single day. You could answer it every single day. Nancy Pelosi changed the president of this House.
But that was
this doesn't preclude from
a...
Nancy Pelosi changed the president of this House on September 24th. It was withheld and good enough for every single Democrat here. It was good enough for the judge. Why would it have to be different today? What we've learned in the last couple of weeks, what you want to know the answer to, your whole job is reporting. You now have an accusation that the president took a bribe. You do know from your own reporting, from your own station, that they were selling a brand. You do know from your own reporting from CNN that the president went to and did conference calls, that the president went to lunches and dinners, just the dinners, and Hunter got a new Porsche. He got 3
But that's what the vote. But
that's my question to you. Why don't you ask the other questions? Why don't you?
I do ask them, but I'm curious. I'm curious why you changed your position.
I never changed my position.
You told Breitbart 12 days ago.
You know what's interesting?
You
So you don't care about any of the answers. You are very interested.
So there you go. I mean, and as we have stated in the entire thing, nobody at all questions the probable cause evidence that the Republicans have and say that it's wrong or doesn't lead you. I mean, they will just generically say there's nothing there, but they won't discuss what the Republicans had point by point and say, well, there's nothing there, there's nothing there, there's nothing here, there's nothing here, there's nothing here to continue on it. They simply want to know why there isn't a vote in the House for an impeachment inquiry, and that's not a constitutional issue. It is a rules issue, for the Congress. And as he stated, Nancy Pelosi changed that. Yep. She changed the rule.
That was then. This is now, and the rules are different now. So here we are.
No, the rules are the same as when Nancy was in, is what he's saying.
I know, but she changed the rules.
Right.
Exactly. And so that was then. This is now. The rules have changed. And here we are.
And I do think Republicans more often, because I will tell you this, when Senator Tuberville went in and initially, like 2-3 days ago, said, no, not really in favor of this impeachment inquiry, then went in and heard the evidence. He went in and heard the evidence from Jim Jordan and Comer and came out going, no, we need to have the impeachment inquiry and find out more because there's serious allegations here and the evidence here is extremely damning. Number one, that should have never happened. Everybody should be up to date as to what they have before they allow anybody to speak.
Yeah, why did it take this long to go behind closed doors?
But because you want everybody prepared to answer the questions from the media and do what McCarthy is doing there, which is challenging the media. You're only interested in this. You don't care about the evidence, and you need. I'd constantly be I'd be doing what DeSantis does all the time, which is hit them on the specifics of what they're not covering. Don't get into the little, the little, things that don't matter.
Well, we said this about Comer, at the beginning. Be very clear about what you have to everyone. And you should be lining it out every chance you get. It should be from the beginning to what you have now, keeping everyone updated every single day. That's important. And Tuberville should have been kept in the loop. How did that not happen from day one? How could you not have all of your colleagues, at least your side, have everything that you have? Listen, here's what we have, guys, and this is what we know.
It's still only going in one direction, though, and it has since the Hunter Biden laptop came out.
Well,
back in October of 2020, and nothing has really gone in not one day has gone in the Democrats' direction.
And the question would be, how much of this evidence, as it's being presented now on the table during the actual process of an impeachment inquiry, will change minds of Democrats on Capitol Hill, keeping in mind that their rank and file, their own party, and according to Joe, Morning Joe Scarborough on MSNBC, all the Democrats say, the ones he talks to, all say it, they don't want Joe Biden to run. They don't need much of a nudge here if there's evidence.
They're using the age argument, but
that's not what's going on.
Reason. 866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. It will be interesting to see what happens. I don't know. I mean, sometimes at the last moment you can have, the union and a company like the Big Three come, to a negotiated deal. But I don't know. They're really far off in what they want. And so if the strike does happen, it will be interesting to see how the union implements the strike to cause harm but not shut down everything.
Right.
And as I asked you earlier, I wonder to the point of where the company finally says, enough of this, you're locked out.
I guess we'll see. They could start as early as tomorrow.
Because what's a partial strike?
Yeah.
When there's no contract.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.